Welcome back for another episode of Film Room. I'm really excited to be joined today by Kansas State point guard Serena Sundell. Serena, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I just finished practice, so feeling pretty good. How are you?
I can't complain. I have like no idea how we're this close to the season already. I was like going through, whenever I'm getting ready for an interview or whatever, I'm going through as much stuff as I can, right? And I was like reading something that Randy put out. And I was like, the first exhibition and the only exhibition you guys have is 27 days from now, which like, right? Like, how are we
Yeah.
here? So how are you kind of feeling with all that? Because I know like, senior year coming up. I know you're working on your master's, you already graduated with your bachelor's. So like how are you kind of feeling with all that? It's got to be a little bit wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. I need time to slow down. It's going by so fast. I hate when October hits because everyone can say, "Oh, we play basketball this month," which is just crazy. We play a game at the end of this month. It's just gone by so fast. I can't even believe I'm a senior and this is my last time for everything, and you got to start thinking about life after college. So yeah, it's a lot, but I'm just trying to enjoy it and be where my feet are. So it's a balance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can imagine, especially, kind of coming off this last year when you guys put together one hell of a season. Obviously, a lot of highs and lows in that. But like, when you reflect back a little bit on what that season was, how do you kind of like take it and how do you kind of like, use that to move forward for what this next year is going to be?
hmm Yeah, last year was a lot of fun. Like you said, we had a lot of highs, had some lows. But our group was just a lot of fun to play with. I think our team, we had a lot of experience last year, even more so this year. I think our biggest thing we struggled with last year was just kind of consistency. We kind of just play, I don't know. We didn't play consistent every night. We let opponents kind of dictate how we were going to play and let pressure teams speed us up. So I think that's one thing this year that we're really focused on is just kind of playing our game, and no matter what the defense is doing, like, we want to be consistent. We want to get to our spots, run what we want to run. We want to be the ones kind of setting the pace of the game and setting yeah, I don't know, say just setting the pace for the game and dictating how that's going to look. But yeah, we learned a lot last year, and I think coming in this year, there's just kind of a no excuses type of thing. We have a lot of seniors on our team. We have a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience, so there's just a lot that we can learn from last year that we should be able to execute better this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot of great insight in that, especially too, like you mentioned. I think the consistency piece is like so big. So that, like part of it too, like it's just tough when you have to deal with injuries during the year. But like
Mhm.
I think the hardest part with watching you guys at times last year is like you knew like, okay, there's this level you can get to, right? And just finding that again, I think after everybody was back from injury was really difficult because um correct me if you feel otherwise, but I felt like, even after Aoka went down with her injury early on in Big 12 play, I felt like you guys found like a little bit of a new play style. Like, okay, cool, we're gonna play
Mhm.
fast. Like you and Eliza have a really great connection, especially in transition. But then trying to mesh the two styles back together once Aoka came back, it felt like that was a really difficult push pull for you guys because like you can get some really good stuff out of this, and it changes up roles a little bit. But then obviously Aoka is one of the best, most efficient players in the country, and like, but trying to make that all work together was it seemed like definitely a bit of a struggle at the high end last year.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. I mean, Aoka is a great player, and you can just feel her presence when she's on the court. So playing with her so much and just knowing like, okay, the defense is gonna gravitate towards her, so you're gonna have maybe more threes open, everybody's gonna be giving her a lot of attention, and we kind of depend on her to get an easy bucket. So when we lose her and we have to figure out how to score on our own and then pick up the pace, and now you have more driving lanes, and like you said, the style of play just changes completely. And we figured it out for a little second there. We had a spark of some good runs, some good games, and we were all gelling like okay. And then Yoki comes back, and it just changes once again completely. So it was a struggle. Yeah, there's no way around that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just kind of what it was, and it wasn't great. It wasn't pretty at times. So hopefully nobody is injured this year, but adversity is gonna strike no matter what. So hopefully we can just learn from last year carrying
Yeah.
over this year.
No, absolutely. I mean, especially looking at, going ahead and into looking at this coming year with what you take away from that too. Like, I mean, as a point guard, I know Jeff asks a lot out of you. Being able to like he wants you to score, he wants you to defend, he wants you to do everything and not just do it, but like do it really well, right?
Hmm.
Um, so especially like taking on that extra learning of, being in that spot, heading into your fourth year and coming off of that, what's maybe the biggest thing that you picked up as a playmaker in kind of trying to handle some of that stuff, get people in their spots and because in some ways, like, I mean, your role has to be like really just fluid in a lot of ways with how
Hmm.
this offense plays.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now he's on me to just make the right play. Just
Yeah.
make the right play, make the right read, and it's so much easier said than done. But yeah, a lot of like Eliza Maupin's play kind of depends a lot on me, and if I can find her when she's cutting, and if I can get her moving or get the ball to the short corner and let her go to work. A lot of my teammates depend on me to help them be great, and I feel that, and I want to help my teammates be as successful as they can because that's just going to lead to us winning. But yeah, it's a lot of mental things that you have to think about as a point guard that I think a lot of people don't realize. So I'm still learning every day. I feel right now like I'm going through a little bit of growing pains just with some new things that we're looking at in the offense, but it's been a lot of fun to kind of figure it out and figure it out with this group, just my reads and what I have available and what I don't have and my first options, second options. But yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's something now that I've really enjoyed and I enjoy right now with this group just because there's so much talent on this team and the girls, they're just a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll talk a lot about playmaking reads when we get into the film. But like, I mean, part of the reason I love watching plays, I feel like you just see the game in a different level than other people do at times. Like you see things quick. You see, you're like, I don't know, I just feel like you always have a different kind of vision on how things can work, and that's part of what makes you such an exciting player. Like being able to do all that. And you mentioned like obviously, working in some new things. Um, Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of transfers throughout the country, but I think looking at your guys' class, I just as soon as it happened, I was like, even before Tamira got announced, I was like, Kennedy Taylor, Missouri State was like tough this year. I think a lot
Mhm.
of people didn't get to watch them, but like everybody, I feel kind of bad for their program because like all four of their best players just transferred out. But like Kennedy Taylor is going to be so good for you guys. Is like just a
Mhm.
backup who can rim run, can protect the block a little bit, good on the glass, and then I mean you add Tamira, who is just like, um, I mean you can't replace Gabby obviously, but I think just kind of a different mold of a player to have in the wing. Somebody who I think is going to bring a little bit of a different edge defensively. Obviously can shoot it, but then like her ability to just kind of create is really special at her size. So like, what has it been getting to learn those two and see what they can do on the court?
Yeah, like you said, Kennedy's just been she's a hard worker and she's just a solid player who can come in and back up Yoki and she's so strong. Like when she sets ball screens and we're defending against her, like there's no pushing her, there's no shoving her. She's gonna get to her spot, she's gonna hold you, she's gonna seal. That's something we've been working on with her is just as guards, like figuring out where she's sealing, where she wants the ball, and like we're just figuring out that timing and trying to connect there. But she just brings a good attitude too every day. She's a lot of fun to work with, easy to work with. We have conversations on the side of like, hey, like what can I do to make that pass better? If she's dropping something that I'm seeing, like she's just a lot of fun to communicate with and easy. So yeah, I'm excited to see how she does this year. And then Tamara has just been a lot of fun to play with. She's just kind of a do-it-all player. She's a true scorer on defense. She's so long. Her arms are so long, her legs are long. She's aggressive. It seems like she's always in the right spot. She's in gaps. She's getting steals, deflections, just doing everything she can defensively. And then she can also guard a wide range of players. And then offensively, I'm finding her a lot right now, just spotting up to shoot. So she's a knockdown shooter, and then she also has the ability to drive to the basket. She can get there in one dribble just because she can sprawl out and weave between people. So she can finish around the rim really well, which is it's hard to guard. when you are a threat to shoot on the 3-point line and drive. So she's been in a lot of good spots right now, and I'm finding her easily. So she's been a lot of fun to play with too. I'm really excited for both of them, and I know that they're going to come in and contribute right away.
Yeah, it's kind of fun too, just thinking because I was looking at the roster and it was like, I mean, you guys were a big team last year, but even now, like, I think there's two players below 6 feet on the roster. Like, this is a big group. It's a lot of length. It's a lot to work with. I feel like the defensive infrastructure you guys built last year is just kind of going to keep going this season with what you can do there.
Yeah, definitely. We are very long. I am a very tall point guard, and then
Hmm.
all my guards around me are tall. Um, yeah, and then our defense last year was good. Coach Mitty says it was good, but this year he wants it to be great, and I think just having that extra length is going to help us
Oh,
achieve that.
absolutely. Is the gap goat returning for this season?
He is, yes.
Okay, good to know. That was the most important thing I had circled for today. Yeah, so that'll be good to hear because as many gaps as possible is the best thing for getting
Hmm.
Coach Mitty happy for sure. Um, Transitioning more to just talking about you as a player, though. I mean, I think when I think of your game, I think efficient. Like I think so much of what you do is efficient. You're efficient in how you move, efficient in how you score, efficient in how you distribute. So, like for reference, um, do you know how well you shot on layups last year? I do. Okay, so it's you shot. So I filtered out. You always want to filter out like transition, right? Because like you're gonna get easy baskets in transition. You shot 60% at the rim on layups in the half court, which is really good. So for reference, like that is the same percentage that Tayana Jackson shot on layups in the
Okay.
half court. So that's pretty good. Like I think out
Hmm.
of 900 players in D1, you were in the top 10% last year. Out of players who took at least 100 layups. So it's a lot of numbers, but I think it's kind
Hmm.
of speaking to the importance with that. Like it's one thing to be a tall point guard, it's another thing to be able to utilize it, right? And I think
Yeah.
um, especially being able to do it the way you have, kind of scoring from all areas of the court has been really big. So I wanted to ask off of that. I mean, what has been maybe your biggest focal point of, what you're trying to, what you added to your game this off season, and headed into this year that you're excited to kind of keep growing in?
Yeah, I think I finished around the rim like you said well last year, and a lot of it was with my right hand. So I'm trying to get the ball over to my left more, or at least be a threat. So because I felt at times last year people knew that I wanted to just go right. I could hear it from the benches, from the coaches, like right hand on the right hand, like all of that. So just being able to go left, I've been working on that and just being aware of like not just pounding it down with my right hand, right hand, right hand. So working on my left, and I think just being more of a threat to shoot on the 3-point line. I shot well last year. I think I had some missed opportunities, and that's gonna open up my driving lane and then um move to a second option or plan B, whatever. Quicker is something that I've been working on. And then yeah, just communication can always get better as a point guard. Just talking to my teammates, and right now I think I'm trying to not just learn the plays and execute the plays, but like play out of that. We've been struggling with that as a team is we're learning a lot of new things right now, and we get so focused on just running the play that there's some missed opportunities. So just communicating through that, and taking easy baskets when we can get them. But yeah.
No, absolutely. I think it's kind of interesting hearing you talk about that too, because I feel like um, it's not so it's a double-edged sword, right? Because it's not like a bad thing to always make the right play. But I think part of
Mhm.
what's interesting with you is like I feel like you could do so much more sometimes in terms of like
Mhm.
just making plays. And it's interesting because I feel like you don't really seem to think when you're making plays, which is part of what makes your game great because like you do things quickly and you do it without thinking. But then again, like I think especially with scoring, like I think there's a lot more you could do with scoring. Like I look at somebody who shoots like almost 60% from the floor. I'm like, I want you to take more shots. Like, I think you're capable of
Mhm.
doing that. And I feel like, Coach Mitty probably feels the same in terms of like, to get the most out of yourself as a passer, you got to continue to get better as a scorer, which you're already a good scorer. But I mean, like, I think there's an even higher level there. So, like you talked about, especially with shooting, like, how do you kind of reinforce that and continuing to, take as many shots as you can and not sometimes get so caught up in like making the perfect decision and just doing, what's best available.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just gotta like I don't know, you just gotta feel in the heat of the game kind of what and right now it's practice where I'm gonna learn all of this, but when do we actually need to run the play and get Yoki open on a cross screen and get a easy bucket down low, or when can we okay, yes, we're running the play, but I'm also wide open right here for this three-pointer, so let's just let it fly. Let's make them respect that I'm gonna shoot this shot so then the next time we come down, I can catch it on the wing and they're gonna be on me and then I'm gonna have an easier pass to someone else. So it's just I don't know, it's a balance. But right now is a great time to work on all of those things and especially we're playing against guys right now. So like figuring out when I can shoot against the guys and when I need to drive and when I need to pass. Is gonna be super helpful because 'cause they're obviously bigger, faster, stronger, girls, so when we get in the game, everything is gonna slow down a little bit, and I'm gonna have even more so of an opportunity, but right now, I mean, that's the beauty of practice, is that you're just kinda, getting a feel for the game of what you can and can't do.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, I've practiced like before you even get into the season. It's always my favorite time. Like, I know some people absolutely hate
A
it.
hot take, yeah.
It is a very hot take. That's why I like working coaching and stuff. But I
Mhm.
don't know. It's just like there's something good about it because like you can see everybody like, okay, that's new. Like I see like you didn't have this before last year. You're more clean with this, and like I get also wanting to be in the games, but like those are the fun part. But like it's you just see so much in like the growth and development in that aspect, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely what we're going through right now is in right now you see a read and you make the wrong read, okay. You turn it over, but now you know for next time and it's not in a game yet. So there's definitely a lot of learning going on right now for everybody.
Yeah, no, definitely. A couple more quick questions before we get over to diving into the tape. Um, I wanted to ask about your free throws from last year. So some we didn't talk about. I know we didn't talk about this in season. I mean, you are just you've been a better free throw shooter than you were this past year.
Mhm.
And it did feel at times like you were maybe just like kind of frustrated at the line. So I was wondering what that process has been like, and kind of working through that and getting back to where you're capable of being as a free throw shooter.
Yeah, I've gotten that question a few times now, from different media people. But honestly, it was just a mental thing. It was a mental block in my head. It was a mental person in my head just making me so much more nervous, so much more anxious than I needed to be at the free throw line. I've been a good free throw shooter my whole career, high school, my first 2 years at K-State, so I don't know exactly what it was. Last year, I tried so many different techniques and strategies to help me think about it, not think about it, sing a song, pick one spot on the rim, just shoot the ball higher. So I tried everything, and maybe that was the problem that I was just so caught up in it. But I feel confident now that I'm a good free throw shooter, and that was just a little slump year. We've been doing kind of pressure shooting during practice that I've been fine at. But yeah, it was just a mental block, and I, don't think I will struggle with that again this year.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. It's just something I was thinking
No, that's
about.
okay. It's a good
It's
question because I was very frustrated, and it felt like it didn't even feel like I my own shot when I was at the free throw line at times last year. I airballed a free throw, which I've never done before, so it was a mess.
yeah.
But this year, it's just I really just think it's a mental thing, and just having this year to be a fresh start at the free throw line will be great.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I think it's so interesting because so often people think like, if something happens, like, well, why aren't you working on this? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? I'm like, dude, I think at least because I feel similarly, like whenever I struggled with something or even now and stuff outside of athletics, I'm like, I will do something 8,000 different ways to try and fix it. And like you said, sometimes maybe that's the problem. Like, you do too much trying to overcompensate and figure it out. And I think that's part of what makes the game great, but also kind of awful sometimes because
Mhm.
especially in basketball when it's so many reps and like there are so many things that can happen in game, right? Like it's sometimes you're just like, God damn, like I don't know, like I'm not thinking, it's just happening, and there, you don't really know what to do about it. So, kind of working through those things can be tough, and it can take an off season sometimes to kind of get back on top of it.
Yeah, it can, and it wasn't I don't haven't been like, "Oh my gosh, like, last year was so bad, you have to be
Yeah.
better this year," because I feel like that's just not gonna help at all. I'm just kinda in a place where I'm like, "Okay, last year I was not very good at the free throw line, but that's last year. I know I'm a good free throw shooter, let's just move on and yeah, it'll be fine."
No, absolutely. Well, last question before we get into tape. We talked about it a little bit before we got on here, but I know just from like your own personal journey, you were like K-State was one of your few Power Five offers. I know your family was trying to get you to go mid-major instead, and obviously you have really thrived and excelled here and grown in a ton. Like you were a late bloomer, just development wise, and getting up to being at that physicality level. Have you started to think about the potential of being a pro? Because I think I watch you, especially last year, like I mean, having a player who's 6'1" that can see the court the way you do, to me, that's your standout skill. Like your court vision is pretty special at your size. But you see so many other avenues in which you impact the game, especially like I mean, your defense got so much better last year. There's just again, I watch you and I think very much like you could have a pretty long pro career if that's something you really aspire to.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been thinking about it, you kinda have to at this point,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you said, I have been a late bloomer, and right now I feel the strongest that I felt. I feel the fastest that I felt. Our conditioning in the past have just kicked my butt. Like after it, I would just be dead. Like this year, I was winning sprints, I was winning drills, I'm bench pressing the most I've ever bench pressed. I put on X amount of pounds and muscle over the summer. So like my body, I feel like is at its peak form that it's been yet, and I feel like I could continue to grow in that area, so I think playing pro is definitely a real possibility for me, whether that's WNBA, I mean, obviously, it's very hard to make it in the WNBA, but I'd love to go that route and see what happens, and then overseas has been something I've been thinking about too, just for that experience and to keep playing basketball, so, yeah, there's a lot going on, but I would definitely be interested in going pro.
Love to hear that. So what's your bench? What are you benching?
I think well, the other day I was dumbbell benching 60s.
Okay.
Yes, I know. I think my max this year for single bench press was, like, 155 or something. It's not that great, but for me, it was
Well,
like,
hey,
"Okay,
for
that's
people who
pretty
aren't
good."
aware, you were 135 at 6'1" coming to K-State. So like being at
Yeah.
benching 155 now, that's pretty good. We'll take it.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I think from, like obviously, after season, your body's kinda depleted, but
for
from,
sure.
like, April to end of August, I put on, like, 10 pounds of muscle or something, like, 1% of body fat. We do these DEXA scans where it can tell you all those little details, so that was something I was pretty proud of. I was like,
Yeah.
"Nice."
Well, no, it's awesome to see like the fruits of your labor come with that. Because I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, putting on weight, losing weight, it's easy, especially if you're working, even if you're working with a D1 staff. I'm like, no, no, especially like I'd
No.
say putting on weight is low key harder than losing weight. Like, so I was a boxer before that career ended, and I decided to get into basketball on this side. But like, taking off weight was so much easier for me than putting on weight because like doing that, like even just like 10 pounds of muscle, people don't understand how much you have to eat to get to 10 pounds of muscle,
Mhm.
right? And also you can't just eat for the sake of eating. You have to do all this stuff on top of it. Like it's a lot of work to get to that.
Yeah, it is, and I feel like I didn't do anything, like, crazy different this year than I have in the past 3 years. I think my body is finally just, like, okay, going into my woman adult body that it hasn't been the past. Like, my first 2 years, I'd get sick all the time, I would struggle with all of that stuff, but now I'm just kinda like, "Okay, I feel good, I feel strong, I feel like I can fight off illnesses and all that stuff," so no, yeah, I'm
uh
in a good spot.
that's yeah, the Serena Sundell pitch for GMs in the W draft can fight off illnesses now.
I can
So
fight off illnesses easy. And I can bench
That's
155.
incredible. Yeah, I mean, lastly on that too, in terms of just like feeling where you're best at position wise, because that's something I always go back and forth on. Like, obviously, you are a point guard. You have that vision. You can handle. But I think especially when you look at like next level stuff, I feel like especially continuing to grow your shot, like you mentioned. I feel like you're a player who could really excel on the wing. And like obviously you do some stuff on the wing here too. It's not like you're just a point guard. I mean, you literally play everything except for center on this team, it feels like. But where do you maybe feel like most comfortable at on the floor?
Yeah, I think Coach Minnie and I have talked about this a lot, and he sees me being a 2,
Yeah.
pro 2, maybe 3. I'm hoping that Taryn Sides will play a little more this year, and I'll get to be on the floor with her at the same time and let her run the 1, and I'll be running the 2. But probably a 2, and I think having that background as the point guard and just the understanding of how everybody needs to work together, and those reads will help me be a better 2. I didn't come to K-State thinking I was gonna be a point guard, so I don't think I necessarily have, your typical point guard build. I don't know. I would be fine with either.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that because definitely see it more as like, I mean, a player can play like 1 through 3, right? Like, I think you can really
Yeah.
do all that. But especially like with where the game's at and where it's headed, everything being like pace, 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 which is so funny because like you guys don't play at a very fast pace, which is like one of the interesting parts. Because I feel like so many of your best qualities are like, if I get out and play an early offense, I can do this and that. And like, you add so much value in that way. And you guys obviously do that a lot still, but to other levels, when you compare to the rest of the Big 12, it's just kind of interesting to look at it that way. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think if I had to put a position on you right now, I'd just put playmaker because it's the easiest way to put it because I just don't know sometimes,
Yeah.
but in a good way. All right, let me get this film going. Before we dive into the film, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for this video and series, State Champs. State Champs is a community-based streetwear brand with a brick-and-mortar sports coffee shop located in Kent, Ohio. Check out the link down below for a t-shirt collab we did, their catalog of apparel and accessories, and stop on by in person to catch a game and a cup of coffee as the WNBA postseason unfolds this fall. Start off with looking at your court vision because, like we said, I think that to me is like your best attribute is what you bring and how you can see things and how you make things happen. Um, so starting here, I think like obviously start off with defense, but then so much of what it was funny going back through because I watched like all your transition possessions, right? And
Mhm.
so much of like what you did in transition was leaking out to the wing and then making plays. And I
Yeah.
think right here is such a great example of that. You don't even it's one dribble and then perfect lead pass, easy buckets. And I think like you look at this stuff and maybe don't think that it's anything crazy, but like to me, like again, this is when you want teams to push, when you want to have more, connected playmaking and stuff like that. I think it's so big to be able to just make the right read quickly and get the ball moving there.
Yeah, I think for me too, I kinda, like, see the play one step ahead.
Yeah.
And I think as a point guard too, like, if Yoki's open on the block, but I can't get it to her, I know I need to throw it to the corner so we can get inside, and I'm, like, telling Briley or someone as I'm passing it to her, "Give it to her, like, not you. Don't shoot it, don't give it back to me, like, she's open," but you gotta see the play just one step ahead. So I think I
No,
have.
absolutely. Yeah, you definitely have that. Also, I forgot to ask you, are you somebody who like watches a lot of basketball outside your own? Like, do you kind of just like, are you always like diving into film or how are you with that?
Um, I wouldn't say crazy, no. I
Yeah.
like to watch my own film. Um, I don't think I'd dive into other people's film. I'll watch basketball for fun, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Are you watching the playoffs right now?
Mhm.
So this one too. Yeah, just more of the same stuff. You get quick pass out, all eyes always up. If especially you and Eliza, I think like it felt like over half your assists in transition were just Eliza leaking out, who like I think again, like part of what's really fun with you guys is you just like look at box scores or whatever, and you don't really think that much of it. But just knowing how you guys play, I mean, generally like at a little bit of a slower pace. Like I think the box scores really don't sell how deep this team is what you guys do because like I mean Eliza when you guys had that stretch was just like I mean you guys were so locked in together.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, this one it because it's this is kind of fun like blending what we're talking about a little bit. Like even if you're walking the ball up, like I think you are always thinking push, 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 which is again part of your game that I really love because like I just think anytime you can find something with the defense lacking is so big in getting easy points.
Yeah, I'm definitely always, and I know Eliza is always going to run, and she can, obviously, in this play, not everybody can go catch that ball and make it look easy like her, but I know she's so athletic that she's just easy to find. And if someone's not paying attention, I have a window, I'm going to try.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's fun too because like you mentioned, I think um that's one of the key parts of your game, like knowing your teammates, right? Because like you said, you
Mm,
have to know who's there and that they can do it. Because like, all right, if I mean if Gabby was here last year, I don't think you make that pass to Gabby because like I mean Gabby's a very good player, but like Eliza's just different on what she can do in terms of that kind
yeah.
of rim finishing and being so um being able to do that. Because like yeah, I think I mean so often people will watch like okay if a player catches the pass in transition but can't make a basket or something. Like I think so often you have to think, okay, well, did they get put in a position to actually make it? Like just because the
Hmm.
pass looked nice, was it actually like the right play, right? Because sometimes just because somebody's open doesn't mean that they're really a threat. So
Yeah,
um
I'm still learning with that too. Coach
yeah.
made it. I'm like, she's open, and Coach May's like, no, like, nope. Like, what is she gonna do with the ball, or like, I don't know. So yeah, it's just knowing your teammates, and then I don't want to say I'm overconfident in them because obviously everybody's a good player at this level, but what's the best shot for our team? You got to think about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um and then off that too, like just I mean you get easy stuff because they know, all right, she can drive, she can attack the basket. So I think so much like is all right, cool. You have somebody running down court, they pick up, get an extra body, and then just wide open three. Like again, it's the easy stuff, early offense and transition. I think. I mean, you obviously do a ton of great stuff in the half court, which we'll break down. But I think again, like it's the routine, simple plays that make people most effective, in my opinion. So right here too, I love this because I think this gives you such a great point of like you mentioned, seeing the play one step ahead. I think as soon
Mhm.
as you catch the ball right here, you know Zai is going to be open, and you wait obviously because you need to make sure you can throw that. But like I think it's just so fun and being able to kind of like see your process in that because like yeah, as soon as you
Yeah.
catch it, like oh she's gonna get there.
Yeah. I think I was just making sure she got out quick enough and throwing it to her right away. She didn't have like that separation
Hmm.
initially.
Yeah, and that was like, oh God, that's such a good pass too. Because like you think like, all right, yeah, she's wide open, but like, no, that's Bella Fonzero is really tall, really
Yeah.
long, and that's just like pretty perfectly threaded. So I love that pass. Um, and then getting into just your ability to attack too. I think like obviously you have to be able to mesh being a scorer on top of being somebody who is making those plays because otherwise, if you don't consistently make plays like this, you don't open up those kick out threes like you have when people
Right.
pick you up. Um, Also, I feel like you could have gotten to the line even more this year. Not saying that like you didn't try to, but I feel like you're a player who like could probably even get to the line even more. Just the way that you do attack and so often you kind of have a mismatch on you no matter what it feels like.
Yeah.
So this is adds to one of my favorite parts of your game. And I think it talks a little bit like you mentioned in terms of you guys are learning how to kind of play outside the plays at times. I think one of the things you do really well is like as soon as you get rid of the ball, you move. Um, And again, like it's I think like having stuff like this is so key, right? Because like, okay, cool, pass the ball cut. I mean, that's wide open. And I think again, being able to be a player who can just kind of succeed at multiple spots, being able to do that is really key.
Yeah. I think that's honestly one thing I can get better at.
Yeah.
I think I will pass and watch a lot.
Hmm. Interesting. So I was funny
Yeah.
because kind of going back, I didn't feel that as much, but I mean
Really?
you're the expert on your game. So yeah, it's I definitely agree. Like I think there are moments where you do. I think my thing that I would add is like more of I think you stop your dribble too early sometimes, which we'll look
Yeah,
at more of. But I think like there are times where like you can keep moving it and like kind of like continuing to be a threat, you know?
yeah.
But I think that's part of what will be fun, like because if you get more of Taryn and obviously Zion and keep coming along, I think you
Mhm.
get to see even more of what you can do off the ball and being that cutter. So to me, this is kind of like giving the full two-way experience of you, right? Like obviously, I mean, it was one of your highlight plays of the year. That block was phenomenal.
Mhm.
But then what I love here too is like I think so often you watch this and a point guard gets this and like, all right, I got to get it down court. But like clock, game, time management right here. What's kind of
Yeah.
going through your mind with this play? Because again, like I think it's very clear, like I don't have time to actually get it up the floor. I have to look to make the outlet.
Yeah, I think honestly, I wasn't I was like, I'm not gonna throw it. I didn't think I was gonna get it there. And I was like, well, even if they do steal it here, they're gonna have to shoot like a half court shot, so might as well give it a try.
Yeah.
Um, know the clock's low. Know if we did get a bucket, that would be a big momentum swing for us. Um, and then I also know Zai can go make a play too. So that's once again knowing just who you're throwing the ball to and knowing she's athletic enough to go make that play.
I love how nonchalant you make it sound about like, oh, I'll just give it a try. Like, I think, because again, like, I'm not trying to gas you, but I think such a big part of your game is like you are a player who is willing to make just about any pass and like passes that people maybe wouldn't even think to. Um,
Mhm.
because like, at least for me, one of my greatest pet peeves is like if you have like a clock that is like you said, the ball is not coming back our way. Why
Yeah,
aren't you trying to use it? Like I always
yeah,
feel that I'm like, if you have the ball and you could try and make a half court shot. I don't care about your shooting percentages, right? Try it.
yeah,
You never know. And same thing with his pass, because like that, I mean, that was huge in swinging this game for you guys. So it's just, yeah, exactly what you're talking about. I love that. So now I want to get into some of your pick and roll reads and just looking at scoring from there too. Um, I think it's interesting because like one of the first things I want to ask you, you were a player who got defended by like every kind of player possible this past season.
yeah.
And you're gonna see that again this year too. How did you feel being defended by like smaller guards?
Yeah, I would much rather be defended by a bigger guard. Um, which I don't know. I guess the pressure. I don't know. There's pros and cons because I get a smaller guard and I can go attack the rim and finish easier against them and kind of use my size to my advantage. But they can also get up in my shorts and I one thing I can get better at is like not letting them know that I'm uncomfortable. I think I struggled with that last year is like when they would get up on me, I'm like, okay, start to panic. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I get guarded by a lot of different people, but that's fun.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. And I think like, because I don't know, it's interesting. I feel like, because right here, like that's exactly what we're saying. Like, cool, you have a small on me, I'll take you to the rack and then get to that fadeaway. And like your mid range jump shot is so, especially like against, like Gabby Marshall's a good defender, but she's like 5'9". So like being able to take
mm,
that shot is completely uncontested.
right.
And you're one of the players who like your touch is so good that I'm totally fine with you taking those kinds of shots because I want you to take more of those shots even because like you're capable of making them. Um so yeah, so I mean it's just good taking the drive lane because they're trying to just go under anyways too.
Yeah,
Um
that was the other thing. Sorry. I think a lot of people went under last year. I have to be
mhm.
more of a threat to shoot when they're going under because our a lot of our offense right now is forcing the defense to go over. So if I'm not a threat to shoot, they're just gonna keep going under, and we're gonna miss a lot of reads.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got clips coming up on that. Don't worry.
Okay.
But I like this one too because like I think you did a lot of really good stuff with rejections this year, and just kind of like making stuff happen from there. And I like you talked about it before we even got into the film, but like knowing what you could do with what was going to happen in the post. So like as soon as you come off this reject, get downhill, know okay, cool. The back of the zone is coming behind because Aoka has a really great seal. and then use that. Okay, cool, cross court, wide open, um, three. Like that's to me like this. I mean, it's basic pick and roll stuff, but doing it quickly and effectively is so big and just again easy offense.
Yeah. I think Yoki makes it easy too,
Yeah,
just because they have to come so far over to help. So that's just something I've been aware of since I've gotten here is like, oh wow, they can't stop her unless they actually get her head is almost under the rim.
yeah,
So if she's not there, then I'm throwing it to Yoki.
yeah. No, that's I mean, it's a great point too, though, because like I think people sometimes get lost in, like, well, okay, well, why aren't you throwing it to the post? Why this? Why that? Like, I think so often, number one, like, Aoka has a great seal here. So that's why she's open. That's why the defense has
Mhm.
to care. Sometimes, like, even if a player's tall, like, just because you're in the post doesn't mean you're open, right? Like, or that you're going to
Mhm.
get a good shot from it. So it's, being able to know that is still really key and play off that. So right here, I like this one because I think one of your best attributes, like you can do really good stuff driving off the ball. I mean, on the ball, but like when you can attack off the catch, I feel like it is just really hard to stop what you do as a driver. Um, like, I mean, if you get any kind of space given to you, like, so even if, okay, if somebody's not guarding your shot fully, or if it's a short close or something, like, yeah, that's just, I mean, you talked about Tamira getting to the rim in a couple of strides, and I feel pretty
Mhm.
similarly to you, especially when you can attack off the ball like that.
Yeah, I think I definitely prefer attacking when I haven't used my dribble yet. It comes a lot easier to
Hmm.
me.
No, I would agree with that. I think like it's a great point because like sometimes if you have the ball in your hands, then or yeah, I mean somebody's right up off you, but also like if you're attacking off the catch, the defense is already probably bent, right? So like you don't even have to think about that aspect. So that's really big and opening stuff up. So right here, one of the first things I want to look at, because and we're gonna go back and forth because I pulled stuff from both Texas and the Texas and West Virginia games because I think it was
Okay.
really fun watching how you kind of grew throughout the season on making some of those plays. Um, excuse me. So like right here, I think I got my notes messed up there. Yeah, so obviously Texas came out like hedging hard in this game. And like pretty much every ball screen you ran, they said we're gonna hedge
Mhm.
it. Um, and I think you still do good stuff here. Like, I mean, this is just an incredibly tough make, which speaks to you as a scorer, right? Like, I mean, that's yeah, you make the face, but like exactly, like that's. I mean, it goes in, but I mean, you shot for reference, like you shot almost 60% on pull up twos this year, and you took like 50 plus of them. It's a pretty ridiculous number. Most players are like around 40% if they're really good with it. So um, again, like it speaks to the touch you have in the basketball and your scoring ability. But like I was wondering, like when you see this, like coming into this game plan, number one, did you know you were going to get hedged? Like was that something that you guys had kind of scouted and prepped for?
Yeah, Texas always hedges.
Yeah. Um, and then number two, what did you want to do against hedges in this game?
Ooh, I think he told us to just attack the edge. I
Mhm.
wanna say, like, they can't stay with you forever, so attack their outside hip. That's not a very good play, though. That wasn't a very good shot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's part of it's part of like, the levels to it and getting comfortable with it, right? Like you obviously don't want to have to take that shot or get to that point, but
Yeah.
there's more to pull out from it for sure. So one of the other things I really like to, whenever like obviously you do good stuff out of the middle of the floor, but I think anything that is like anything on the sidelines, I feel like you're so deadly with because you can obviously can get downhill, but then especially with anything ghosted, like I love some of the stuff that you and Gisela started running together this year because you have to worry about her off the catch. So like that just causes confusion and that entire action just blows us up. Um,
Mhm.
so like off that too, like was this like staff had put in let's start ghosting this later on in the game, or how did you guys kind of approach that?
Um, I'm trying to remember. I think we did a lot of ghosts last
Yeah.
year, and I think we knew with Texas they were gonna hedge and get out, so, like, especially if you have someone who can pop or ghost like Gisela can, that, like, might as well keep doing that and make them make a decision,
No,
because
absolutely. Yeah.
Gisela's defender can only do so much, she has to stop me eventually or get back to G. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff because I think, yeah, especially you out of ghost is like it's really tough to stop. Um, so right here, I like yeah, because you get the hedge again.
I
Um,
remember this play.
what?
I remember this
Yeah,
play.
you get this again. Yeah, work side entry. I wanted to ask about like because we were talking about that, and it'll be fun because we're gonna look at it again in a different game and how you guys handle it from there. But like, um, you mentioned attacking hips and stuff with this, right? But also like, have you guys like ever looked at like kind of like hostage dribbling a little bit or using stuff to try and draw out the hedge a little bit more?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, this was definitely a set play where I wanted
Hmm.
to engage their big and knew she was coming out and knew if Yoki got out right away that she would have a wide open look. Obviously, we couldn't get it to her, but I think we ran that play a lot against Texas.
Hmm. No, definitely. Yeah, because you guys did a ton with like, I mean, especially with how teams tried to play stuff, like you have to work side. But no,
Hmm.
I just wanted to ask on the hedges because it's interesting. Because exactly like you're pointing out, I think so much of it is like context, right? Like I think whenever I'm thinking about like when I want to teach how to attack hedges, and all right, pull the ball out and try and pull out to the side and make try and engage two defenders as long as possible, right? But like if it's a set play,
Hmm.
it's so different. So I like that. Before we even get into playing against a team like Baylor, that is like they were going to switch everything for the most part. It's a lot of length. How do you kind of does that change your approach, or like how do you kind of look at like playing against a team that wants to play like that wants to just kind of keep everything in front and um, condense the floor a little bit on you?
Yeah, I think one thing last year that we got killed with a lot when we were on defense and we never really picked it up was just kind of that slipping and ghosting, but more so slipping when they're gonna switch. Like, how are we gonna take advantage of them
Hmm.
switching? I feel like we struggled with that. I don't know. I guess Baylor's tough because we didn't really have a true five. So even if I wanted to come off Gisela right here, I don't know if they switch this or not, but when we do switch, there's really no great mismatches. Obviously, I have a mismatch with Dre right there, but it's just kind of, I think, difficult to figure out how we take advantage of those switches because there's a way, but it was just hard when you have kind of a five out look.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's a really great point because, like you said, I think like I mean this is the right play towards it hitting the slip because it's open, but like it's just hard sometimes, like you mentioned, because like, okay, cool. If it's not Aoka going to the rim, it doesn't have the same impact and gravity, right? So then it's just hard for everybody else to kind of build off that.
Yeah, I think Jalen did a really good job last year of slipping, but I feel like we just struggled to like feel when to go and when not to go. A lot of players didn't really have that feel, but Jay did a good job. I remember hitting her a few times last year on a slip.
Mm. It's right here. I like this one a lot too. I think one of my favorite things about what you do attacking baseline is kind of you know that help is coming. You use that lean back to get back in front of the rim to
Mhm.
use the rim. Where did you kind of pick that up? Because it seems like a
I don't
small thing,
know.
but it's a huge part of you like being so effective as a finisher.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know where that came from, but that's like I feel so comfortable doing that. Just
Yeah.
like getting to a point where you're so low, you feel like you can't score, and then just jumping back in where you have a wide open shot off the glass. I don't know where I picked that up. I don't know where it came from. It's just been something that I do now, and I'm good at it.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's a really good part of your game. And one of the things I like too that you guys started working in last year, especially you and Eliza, is like using this kind of like touch screen. I don't know if you've watched the Pacers play at all over the last year, but like they do this a lot for Tyrese Halliburton, where it's like, because he's not like a natural like super quick first step player. I actually would
Mm.
say like you are probably the player that reminds me the most of Tyrese. Like just somebody who again like makes plays from all over the court. But like I love this touch screen because I think that's something that just it puts like a little bit of extra motion in the defense without even setting a screen, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's so big in kind of helping you get going. Not that you like not that you need it necessarily in this, but like I think just again like makes it harder for the defense to kind of commit to something.
Yeah, I think last year their big thing was like as soon as you see they're talking to Eliza, as soon as you see that defender go over, like get out. As
Mhm.
soon as you see them get over, get out. That
Yeah.
was kind of a big thing last year.
Yeah, and it was really helpful for you guys. I loved it. Um, yeah, and for right here too, like one of the things that I think you got better on as the year went on is like your change of pace stuff, which I think there's even more for you to get into here. But just like using the
Mhm.
quick hezzy off this ball screen to like we talked about on the couple of clips ago, like keeping two defenders engaged. You draw the third and then just get the ball moving around, and it shot doesn't end up falling, but it's I mean that is a great shot to get open.
Yeah.
So this one too, I wanted to ask, was this like just kind of like something that you drew up in your mind is the wrong way to put it, but like you just kind of attack downhill and open up the cutter just by like going at a defender, which it seems like a small thing, but like it felt creative to me. I was wondering like kind of what this was
Um,
here.
this may have been drawn up.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. It was also kind of a thing, like, I attacked on that right wing so much last year that
Yeah,
Gabby's defender has to make a decision, so that was kind of always a read in my head that if you're attacking and her defender doesn't go and you're on a smaller guard, then just keep going. But if they step up and help, like, Gabby either has to be ready to shoot or obviously she made a good cut there.
yeah. No, exactly. I mean, but I think that's what I like because um I'm talking about like you guys ran that like right wing like kind of pitch play on a handoff. So I mean you were on the reverse end of it a lot too. But like
Mhm.
I love having this because I think if somebody just comes off like kind of flat with this, you know it's going to be a handoff. It's a lot
Yeah,
easier to guard, right? But like you just come at it like this. Number one, it kind of like reinforces it like a screening action almost. Like obviously handoffs aren't screens, but like it can kind of do the same thing in putting a dent in the defense. So like just by going at a defender like this and making them think, I think is so big in opening stuff up. So I
yeah.
love that.
And Gabby was good at, like, filling up for that handoff 3 at the wing, because 'cause I'd
Hmm.
drive my defender so deep that her defender is kinda caught in the middle. So I think they were probably used to that and expecting that too, so when she went back to her, it's just kinda good play.
Definitely. So we talked a little bit about playing against Baylor. What did you feel? Because I think like West Virginia played just like such a different brand of defense this last year. Like it's all pressure. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people looked at West Virginia like, well, why are they so good at defense? They're probably just like press merchants. But like really, I mean, their guards are just so fast. So like, what was that like for you? How did you kind of feel in West Virginia games?
Mhm.
And like just handling that kind of ball pressure.
Yeah, I don't feel like I handled it very well. That's kinda my first thought thinking back to SV, and I know they pressed a lot too that we struggled with. They just got me really sped up. I think I this was kind of a part of my game where I felt like I was dribbling too much. I think I could have gotten rid of it, gotten it back just to kind of get that reset.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, their guards are just so fast.
Yeah. Well,
And
part of oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's okay. And like there are times like this play right here where I wanted to get rid of the ball so bad that I just didn't make a good decision.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I look at like, and the clip right after this is from the next West Virginia game, and I really like the next clip played off this one. But like, I look at this and I'm like, I think number one, I would love to see you look to score more here because this is one of the
Yeah.
like, obviously this is a very, I mean, it's still like it's tough. You have to play kind of one on one with this, but like, I think this is one of those times where it's like, okay, because I'm looking so much to pass, right? That there's not anything open because I'm not opening anything up as a scorer.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you. But yeah, then this play I like because part of what's tough with this one too, like I think just with the screening angle in general, I feel like this is a tough one to open up. Like, yes, you're getting in the middle of the court, but the way that they play the gaps, I think that this is like just in general, I feel like this is kind of like tough to play off of because like pocket pass really isn't there. The five is going to get to recover anyways. Like it feels like you guys don't really put a huge dent in with this. So what I love with this when you guys play them again in the Big 12 quarters, you call for the screen flip here. Is that something that you guys had kind of like emphasized going in, or was that something that you just like in the game feeling it out? You're like, all right, I wanna go for the different angle here.
Uh, I think that was something we had been working on. We call them twist screens,
Hmm.
where you kind of show an initial angle and then twist it after, but I don't know if that one was called prior or during.
Okay. So, because kind of off that too, I was wondering like how much when you're out there, like leading the offense, how much of it is you like can you like kind of tweak things on the fly or like how are you kind of like approaching things?
Yeah, I think Coach Mitty gives me a good amount of
Yeah.
freedom. I think he trusts my judgment, and I feel like usually if I am making a call or an adjustment, I feel pretty confident that I see something that can get us an easy look or bucket. But like I said earlier, it's just kind of a balance of when do we actually need to run the play and when can I kind of all right, mess around, like I see this, let's go for it. And yeah, I don't know. It's both.
No, definitely. And I think like even off that too, like communicating screens and stuff, like because I think people think like, screen's a screen, right? But there's just so many different ways to do things and they all
Mhm.
have different impacts. So like even with this, like when you're calling for the screen, so it's going to be like the twist screen before that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Because part of like again, why I love this is like when I mean, you being able to attack a small defender baseline, like you get into that pull up, and I mean, that's money. And there's so many different ways you can attack that too. Because like you didn't isolate a ton this last year, but I know you can break that down. You can get into your post up game a little bit. Like there's a lot of stuff there for you.
Mhm.
Um, so then looking at hedges against Texas again, I think part of what we talked about earlier that's fun is like I feel like you do so much better of a job in this game in attacking hips and getting downhill. Um, like because right here, even though like it doesn't open up anything in the middle because their defense is playing no middle so much, like you open up the wide open three. Obviously, it doesn't go down, but I think I like this play a lot.
Yeah, I think that was a bigger emphasis this game. And they told me at the first game, obviously, like attack the hedge, attack the hedge. I think this game it was a bigger emphasis, and I kind of understood like the why behind attacking the hedge. It might not necessarily be for myself or for Yoki's role, but opening up that single tag to get a wide open three or eventually get Yoki on another seal down low.
No,
Just
definitely,
had a
and I
I
think
just
that's
had a
really.
better
Oh wait, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying I just had a better understanding of kind of the why this
Yeah.
game.
Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what do you mean, like, in terms of, like feeling out that why? Like, what kind of like sold that to you and like understanding that more?
I think I don't know why. I think just like understanding, okay, if I keep going on the hedge, then my guard is never gonna be able to like that knowing from a defender's point of view, getting back and making that exchange back is tough. If the post goes too early, then I'm gonna have a wide open layup, and if like I want the post to stay as long as I can make them stay, and then that leaves Gabby's defender to have to make a decision if she wants to come and help with Yoki's seal or like Yoki's role. Because if Gabby's defender stays out, then I have an easy pass to Yoki for a layup. Um, I don't know, just understanding that whole process, I think I did better this game.
Definitely
We're
agree
working
with
on
that.
that a lot right now, so looking back at this is interesting.
Yeah. No, it's kind of fun because like, I just like I feel like to me basketball so much is like I feel like people think like, oh, well, there's just like one thing, right? Like you just know it, this thing. And like I feel like, I mean, I'm 27 and I learn more about basketball every time I watch it. Like there's
Mm,
just so much stuff that keeps layering and adding on, and it's kind of fascinating that way. But like
yeah, definitely.
exactly, like especially as a playmaker, like I was like an undersized, crappy rebounder. I have two torn labrums, so I can't shoot. So like, yeah, it happens. But like, I mean, so I never had to make reads like this, but it just adds a different element. Looking at that screen stuff again,
Mhm.
I love the again just running the guard to guard stuff. I feel like that's something that I'm curious if you guys run that even more this year because like you doing anything guard to guard was like just so tough to guard last year. So
Yeah.
guard a lot. Um, yeah. Even like so like okay, with this stuff, I'm assuming probably a set play, but do you ever just like come down and you see like, all right, I want to attack this mismatch, or like I think we could get something out of this, and you call out like a guard screen?
Yeah, definitely. We're doing that a little bit right now,
Hmm.
especially when our initial plays break down and our guards are just kind of standing on the perimeter looking at each other. I know great options for me are Jalen, Briley, Tamira, Gisela, who can set that screen and then pop. And if they're not switching, then that's a really easy look for us. I think it once again just becomes difficult when they switch and having our guards know like, okay, maybe I need to slip or ghost it sooner. But we're working on that right now, and we've gotten some easy looks here lately in practice of just a simple ghost or a simple screen and pop because I'm trying to draw two defenders as much as possible.
Definitely. I wanted to yeah, off this too. Like, I like that it's a jump pass. I know it's random, but like, does it just kind of come naturally to you to jump pass, or do you just like do it sometimes, just kind of
Yeah,
intentionally, or yeah,
I honestly don't know if I love that pass
yeah.
with my left hand going through the defense. That probably should have been
That is probably fair.
my
Yeah,
right
but like
hand.
I just in general because like I do think like mixing things up so it's not always like just trying to make like a two-handed whatever. I
Yeah.
think because again like having versatility in anything is so big, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so this one again, in terms of like looking at playing in smalls, I do wonder, like looking back when you see kind of this clip, how are things that you like? What are things that you would maybe do differently trying to attack against a smaller defender? Because I know we talked a little bit about like looking at wanting to be more aggressive. Because I think right here, this is one of the things where I look at where I'm like, I kind of wish that you would just like drive it right here. I know you want to get
Yeah.
it to Yoki right here, but I also think like it's just tough when you have that defender right on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that was. I think that was a breakdown play. Our spacing was bad, but yeah, eventually at some point I gotta be like, okay, this girl is 5'6". Like I can go get a bucket on top of her.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting too because it's not even like I mean I think your handle's pretty tight. Like it's not necessarily like something where I feel like you're just going to get your pocket picked. I think a lot of it, like you talked about, is like just doing something aggressively, right? Going right away, going downhill. Because I think as much as a playmaker, you can be so aggressive in picking things out, and it's continuing to do that as a scorer too.
Yeah, I think that was like right here, obviously I just wasn't decisive.
Hmm.
Um, I think I'm doing a better job of that right now. There was a play today where I came off a screen and shot a pull up and I kind of had the short roll and Coach Mitty was like, "Well, like at least it was decisive." And then my short roll girl ended up going to get a rebound because I drew her defender and she got an offensive board. But he was like, that's better to be decisive than just being in between."
Absolutely, and I mean that's a perfect lead in too because I think hitting shots like this is so big for you. And I know you mentioned it earlier, but like taking, I wouldn't even necessarily, I mean, it is off the dribble technically, but like just taking these shots when people try and go under on you.
Mhm.
What has been big in like continuing to rep that out and find that? Cause I think it's something that like, I mean, I trust you to hit shots like this.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think it's just a practice thing, and a confidence thing. And once again, like knowing how much space you need. I have a slower release, I feel like. But it has to, I mean, if you're not a threat to score there, then so much is closed off. Like they're just gonna keep going under. I'm never gonna get the drive. I'm never gonna get into that mid range if they're just so comfortable going under. I
Mhm.
don't want anybody to go under this year. I want
Yeah.
them to just keep going over, keep going over. But if they go under, then obviously I wanna make them pay and make them respect the three-point line.
Yeah. You mentioned your release too. So like in terms of like your mechanics, like I think everything looks great mechanically. The thing I wanted
Mhm.
to ask about though is like you kind of take like this like little like rhythm step a little bit, which I think is what slows down your release. Is that something you've kind of always had, or like how have you have like? I know that's very random, but I just was thinking about that today.
Yeah, no, I have, like, a little hitch in my shot,
Hmm.
like a little
Yeah,
down and up motion. Um, I don't I don't know if I've always had that. I don't feel like in high school I had that. I don't know where it developed. I think I have a quicker shot when I'm down and I don't know, down and ready, but
yeah.
definitely
Because
something I can work on.
yeah, I mean, because I think that's the big thing for you is like shot prep, right? Like for anybody, because I would call you a good shooter, but I think like even opening up more and getting to that is like, just being able to like, if you can erase that, like not having to take that little step, like
Mhm.
I think that's so big and continuing to opening stuff up for you.
Yeah.
Um, but then like looking at your shot versatility too, because like you're a player who like, okay, cool, you can ghost for people, you can screen for people, and be somebody who has to be a threat always, who always has to be kind of like paid attention to, like you mentioned. Um,
Yeah.
and that's big time. And we have just a couple more clips left. Sorry, I know it's going along.
No,
Um,
you're good.
then right here, so like we talked about with that kind of wing three, like right here, I feel like not that the hitch is completely gone, but like it just feels even more comfortable for you getting into stuff out of action sometimes.
Yeah, it's still there a little bit,
Yeah,
but
no, but I just like yeah, because you kind of like you yeah, I mean sort of like hop step into it a little bit almost, but
mhm,
like it's interesting. Then this one, because again, just continuing to like, oh, so yeah, defense now. Sorry, I had it noted wrong.
no, you're good.
Where do you feel best defending at? Because I think again, that's part of what's interesting for you. I think you put really good tape together, defending down on like ones, but where do you feel best at?
I would probably say a wing,
Yeah.
a 2 or a 3. I think
Hmm.
we did that a little more at the end of the year. Last year, if Zy was in or Jalen, obviously not here, but they would kinda step up and guard the one. I think Coach Mitty liked that too, just to not give me a breather, but maybe give me a I mean,
Make it so you don't, yeah, because there are some possessions we're gonna look at where you get run through like 1,000 screens, and it's like
yeah,
tough.
just to give me a little bit of a break because the ball is in my hand so much. So I like defending the 2.
Yeah. No, definitely. But I think it's interesting too, because like I think again, a lot that stands out is you can do it. Like you're capable of being a player who can like, okay, cool. I can keep a small in front of me and use my length to crowd them. And then if you have a wing, like you're capable of coming off those screens and making things tough. Like I think you're really good too, especially against like size players that like using your length to contain drives, right? And just make it really difficult
Mhm.
at the rim. Um, that's something to me that always stands out at least. Um, and then here, I think I wanted to pull this one because just looking at like more complex actions and stuff, especially off the ball. I know like you don't want to like get hesitant on a call or whatever because it kind of looks like you guys look at switching maybe and obviously don't, but like I think you still see like your recovery speed and ability to get out and like still contest that.
Yeah, though I don't think that was supposed to be a switch.
Hmm.
We did not switch much last year at all.
Yeah, no, oh yeah, my bad. I wasn't meaning to say it was supposed to be a switch, but like just because in general there's like a slight pause, but
Yeah, I think they said to, like, have Jalen step out and make sure I could get back. I don't know what was going on there.
mhm. It happens. Possessions are never gonna be perfect, but especially like in general with like so right here because yeah, this is one of the possessions where you get run off 1,000 screens. I actually think this one I don't have the sound on right now because it totally messes up on the recording, but I believe you call for a switch right here. Um, I'm pretty sure on the like on the mic from ESPN you can like hear you call out Gabby's name. So when you're watching this, like what's making you call out switch here? Because I can tell you why. Like I think it's the right call because you're getting run off two screens, but um like what are you kind of seeing and feeling in this?
This was definitely a scout thing.
Yeah.
One of their, uh one of their plays that we knew was gonna happen, and it was an automatic switch out with the second screener. So
Hmm.
I was trying to tell Gabby early, like, switch out, and I'm gonna take hers, but I guess that did not get communicated great. But yeah, that was just a scout thing. That it was an
Definitely.
automatic.
I will say too, though, I still think you do a pretty good job getting around the screen. And again, like looking at your ability to contest, close out, like, I mean, Shaylee's a hell of a shooter, but I think you do a pretty good job of making that difficult, even with the defensive
Yeah.
breakdown. Um, and then, yeah, like we talk about with looking at defending wings, I think especially when you're defending against like-sized players off the dribble, like I always am looking like what happens for somebody in isolation. I think when you played against, smaller guards, they could back you up a little bit with their handle and speed, but you could still use your
Mhm.
length to crowd them. But against like-sized players, like we really didn't see wings beat you off the dribble very often, which I appreciate because I don't want to see you get beat off the dribble by players who are the same size as you. Um, and then I want to ask about this too, because just in general, like having to play against this offense, and especially like I mean, Frida Foreman is one of the best shooters in the country. What was kind of key for you in this matchup and any matchups like this? Because I think like again, like they're gonna run off a ton of screens, but they also have like a lot of reads and actions that can change things up. So yeah, how do you kind of just feel coming into this matchup?
Um, I know we were going over everything because they had good shooters, and if you go
Hmm.
under, just kind of you have no chance. Did I block that or
You do block it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
um
it's blocked.
yeah, it almost looks like I fouled her. I don't remember necessarily. I think it was just like yes, you're gonna have to fight over the screen. Yes, you're gonna be a step behind, but you have to sprint to the stop and make them do something that they're uncomfortable with. That was
Yeah.
kind of the biggest thing is just continuing to make the offense feel uncomfortable, just kinda like I'm talking to you about West B's defense is when you're uncomfortable, everything else is sped up and you get out of your action, you get out of what you wanna do. Yeah, I don't remember specifics.
Hmm. Well, yeah, no, because I just want to point out too, because obviously, like I don't think. I mean, you hit ball first, so I think that it doesn't. We'll pretend. It looks like ball at first, so
It
it
does
doesn't
look
get counted as a foul. But in general, like I think you're capable of like making those plays, especially like both steals and blocks, being able to kind of make those plays late. And I really like your anticipation getting around the screen too, because like I think so often people try and get uh away from screens instead of into them. I think you do a good job of kind of like hugging it to get around, which I think is really
yeah.
important in getting over screens. Um, but yeah, that closes out flips. Um, I know
Ooh.
that this was a long process and a lot of stuff to look at, but I mean, just to kind of close out, looking ahead to this year, what are you kind of most excited to put together as a team and as an individual?
Yeah, I think we just learned I and myself personally, I just learned a lot last year. So I'm just excited to progress this year. Right now, like I said, we're just doing a lot of new things that I'm learning a lot, learning the reads, a lot of ball screen stuff. Yeah, I'm just excited for this group and this season. We have a lot of talent on our team. I'm excited for our defense this year. I think our ability to scramble and help each other out and take players you normally wouldn't take, but you have to. It's just really good. So we have a lot of good stuff. It's sloppy right now, but that's the fun part of being in early October is kind of working through those kinks right now.
No, absolutely. And I didn't even ask. How are you feeling about the Big 12 just kind of being the Big 12? Like it's got to be. I'm still just not used to Texas and Oklahoma not existing anymore. Like I
Mhm.
was like reading that, I'm like, oh wow, Arizona State, Big 12 team. Like that's. I mean, it's
Mhm.
definitely gonna be a little bit of a different conference schedule this year.
Yeah, it is, especially going from like my freshman year playing every team twice to now we're gonna play three teams twice. That'll be different. But I'm excited. I think if I could go back, I would come into the Big 12 at the same exact time I did and have new teams almost every single year and get to go to new places. So it's definitely I don't know, it'll be fun, but it's pretty unheard of.
Yeah, it's wild times in college sports right now with all
Yeah.
that. So I can't even
I
imagine,
think I'm
but
gonna look back and be like, "What the heck? My conference was different 3 out of the 4 years that I was in college athletics. It's not normal, but we'll make the most of it." I'm not too mad about Texas and Oklahoma being gone.
yeah. No,
We
for
might have
sure.
a chance to actually play Oklahoma this year in our
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
that's right. Because it
tournament
was
in
yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah, I think if you guys
So,
both win technically, then there's a chance for it to open up.
yeah, so that would be fun, but we'll see.
Definitely. Well, Serena, thank you so much for doing this. It was really great getting to kind of pick your brain a little bit and see how you see things. To everyone watching, thank you for watching. Of course, be able to go subscribe down below if you haven't already. Keep up with all things K-State women's basketball, and of course, everything that Serena and her teammates are doing this year, and what should be a really damn good season over in Manhattan.